What are the Venusian Mystery Schools? Is it even possible for there to be life on a planet that to our eyes it appears desolate, far too hot to host any kind of living life forms? In fact, Venus is the hottest planet in our solar system. But if there are life forms there that we simply can't see, who are they? Who are the Venusians? Who are the Hathors? A seemingly intergalactic species that claims to have seeded Venus billions of our years ago. And who are the Ascended Masters? What are they masters of? My name is Annie Perry. I'm a multidimensional psychic channel and the host of the Luminary podcast. These are just some of the questions that I'm going to endeavor to answer for you on this episode. Number 175 of the Luminary podcast, the Venusian Mystery Schools, the Hathors, the Ascended Masters, and the Paradox Mysteries. Now, this episode is audio only, but I hope that instead of paying attention to what's on the screen, you will allow yourself, if you've been guided to this podcast and this episode, if you felt drawn to click play, I hope you will allow yourself to just take in the information and allow yourself to see if it resonates with you. And if it does, how can it help you on your spiritual journey and your journey of awakening? I'm very excited that you're here. Now let's begin. Welcome to the Luminary podcast. I am your host. My name is Annie Perry. I am a professional psychic channel, spirituality and mastery teacher, multidimensional being of light, just like each and every single one of you. I am you, you are me, we are one. Welcome back to another episode. And if this is your first time ever tuning in, welcome. Let me prove myself to you by providing some value, some insight, and some cosmic codes for you on your journey. Whether you are here for a single episode or whether you're here for all 175 of them, I'm glad that you're here. This episode is focused on the waves and waves of you in the collective stepping into your energy mastery era. So if you found this, then this is the right time for you to be receiving this remembrance, to be receiving these codes, to be learning about the mystery schools, to be downloading your mastery level codes from the mystery schools. And I'm going to be answering all of the questions. What are the Venusian Mystery Schools? Why do they matter? And how can you begin accessing your mastery codes on Venus? Should you even try to access them? Mastery has been a huge topic for me this year. It's my 33rd time around the sun. 22, 33, 44, 55, those are all master numbers. And at the beginning of 2025 is when I really started going into teaching mastery, downloading a lot of my codes. I went on my mastery journey to Europe, learning grid working from different teachers around the world, and have since brought all of that wisdom and knowledge and how-to back to this podcast, back to this community. In fact, all of the episodes with mastery in the title also teach about this topic. And I would say that anyone stepping into things like grid working is also in their mastery era. You have done enough of the work on your own self that your light is now starting to radiate outwards, and you want to know, how can I help others? How can I make an impact on this planet? How can I bring a higher frequency of consciousness? What is the purpose of me knowing everything that I know about inner healing, inner work, consciousness, and energy if I'm not going to do something with that knowledge and do something with those skills and gifts and abilities? And when you step into your mastery era, you start asking questions like that. You start wondering, What is the next step? What is coming next for me once you're done with things like the healing era, once you're done with things like the shadow work era, you start to come into your mastery. And if this topic is exciting for you and you're questioning, well, am I really done with the healing era, the shadow era? Am I really done with those kinds of introductory to spiritual awakening topics? My guidance for you would be that there is going to be a period in your life where they overlap. And if the topic of mastery is exciting to you, then that is your soul saying, yes, we want to start activating this part of our journey too. And for those of you who are already studying mastery and ready to go deeper, be sure to check out Ascension Academy through the link in the show notes below or on wellspringofficial.com. That is my website where all of my classes, courses, activations, everything that I create is there. In fact, I would say that if you're someone who finds yourself eagerly waiting each week for the next episode, the right place for you to be is inside of Ascension Academy. It's 70, 80, 90 hours of my teaching and guided activations. All of my students who have come into Ascension Academy were once in your seat and were eagerly awaiting each week and checking to see if there was another episode of the podcast and really eating up all of the transmissions that would come through each week. Now that they are inside of Ascension Academy, they don't have that hunger anymore. They are satiated. They feel full. They have that huge, huge resource, 70, 80, 90 hours to be working through over the next year. And that is before all of the new classes and courses that I will be teaching inside of Ascension Academy this year. So that's a good marker to know if you are ready for that. If you've enjoyed any of the previous episodes, taking a moment during this episode to leave a rating or review on whatever podcast app that you use, it is so helpful. It helps other people to find the podcast. I'm super appreciative of it, and it's a great way to show your gratitude if you appreciate anything that I have ever said before. Lastly, before we dive in, I'm teaching every single day through posts, through videos, through stories on Instagram at eternal_Annie. Come hang out and be fed. You can also find me every day on YouTube at Luminary_Annie. You can subscribe there, and I will feed you beyond your wildest dreams. I will provide for you information that you never knew that you wanted to know, in abundance and above and beyond. So let's go ahead and dive in. Let's start with the significance of the planet Venus and what it means for us here as awakeners on the planet, New Earth architects on the planet, and those of us who are here to support the ascension of Earth into her fourth density state of being. Venus is a fully ascended planet in late sixth density. It once held a kind of semi-carbon, semi-crystalline forms. It was never as dense as we have seen here on Earth. And it was seeded. You've heard me say this before. It was seeded millions, maybe even a billion of our years ago by the Hathors. The Hathors were an extraterrestrial. Now they're more ascended. You would call them interdimensional beings. But they were an extraterrestrial group of beings that came from Theta Reticuli. Now, you've probably heard reticuli before. Normally, when we're talking about the reticuli and different beings that have come from it, we're usually talking about the Greys who came from Zeta Reticuli. So if it sounds familiar, it's because if you actually look it up on a star chart, they are quite close to each other. And the Hathors were a primarily non-verbal beings. They created this sort of leaning heavily towards the divine feminine society. And at one point, when they had more carbon density to them, they did look a lot like the short grays. Now, in their more ascended, interdimensional state, they may come to you as just pure energy, as just pure color. Sometimes they like to approach people as lava. I know that sounds really strange, but this is where we get some of the lore on our planet about, beings living inside of a volcano, when actually a more proper translation of that energy was them really saying, like, we are the Kali Ma energy, right? Which is a form of the divine feminine energy. Kali Ma is often the energy in a lot of our indigenous traditions, especially in places like Hawaii and around the Pacific Ocean. Kali Ma is that fire feminine energy, and it's associated with lava, literally lava life force coming out and recreating, terraforming the entire planet. So for them, that was more of an energetic translation. They work on the Ascension column, which is your spinal column. It is called energetically and spiritually the Ascension column of light, because that is how you conduct light from your oversoul into this body in order to have the experience. So the Hathors do a lot of spinal energetics, and I think we kind of developed this idea of beings living inside of a volcano from a few of the mistranslations, or just not understanding them as clearly because they are highly nonverbal. They prefer to communicate in singing, in humming, in intonation, as opposed to with spoken words, like the Arcturians or the Pleiadians would communicate with you. So once the Hathors became an interplanetary species and was able to create interplanetary travel, they actually seeded several other planets. They seeded 6 planets, but Venus is considered the most successful one because they found a really harmonious planetary energy that resonated deeply with their own, leaning towards the divine feminine. So the planet itself was also leaning towards the divine feminine. The planet wanted to ascend. They wanted to go through the ascension process. So the harmony that they were able to create on Venus is how Venus became this hub for mastery schools and the mastery codes, which are ascended forms of learning. The last thing I want to say about the Hathors, because once you start to learn about them and you start to learn about Venus, you're going to start seeing the signs everywhere that they're trying to get in touch with you. And one of their great creations, aside from Venus, is they created all of the bovine codes that you see on our planet. And I know you were expecting something like, I don't know, pretty birds or something that feels really, really feminine, but truly it was all of the bovine codes. So all of the bovine species and the subspecies, so cows, buffalo, water buffalo, even some antelope codes. All of those species, they created all of the codes that those stem from, and they place those codes here on Earth, like so many other species do, to keep them in the living library as a variety of codes that can come, that other species can come to this planet, take those codes, and plant them on another planet. This is why in Egyptian mythology, when they translated this idea of the goddess Hathor, they gave her little bovine cow ears that stick out from the side of her head. If you go and look at some of the sculptures and paintings of Hathor from ancient Egyptian times, you'll see those very unusual little ears sticking out the side of her head, and they look quite different from any other of the other female goddesses that they attempted to translate as best that they could. In fact, Robert Edward Grant's group that he takes to Egypt every single year have gone into the Great Pyramid, raised their vibration through a meditative state, and been able to see bovine carvings, cow carvings, bull carvings on the walls inside of the king's chamber. And if you have studied here under my podcast for a long time, you're probably starting to connect some dots here. Like, wait a minute, if I read the Law of One transcripts channeled by Ra, who said they were on Venus, they said that they came to this planet at one point in time and created the pyramids through thought. And what Annie Perry is now telling me is that the Hathors seeded Venus. So Ra must be the descendants of the Hathors who came here and left bovine carvings inside of the Great Pyramids that Ra said they created. Yeah, we're connecting all of the dots here. We're connecting all of the constellations here. If you have ever spent any time on a farm or out in the countryside with cows or with any of these bovine-like animals, you will have this feeling when you look into their eyes that they are not only intelligent beings looking back at you, but once you know this, you'll almost start to feel the Hathors themselves looking back at you through their eyes. And I think it's no mistake that through the great generosity of overabundance of love that these beings have for us, that this animal creation that they first encoded and brought to our planet is one of the primary ways that we are fed here on this planet. So it's a really beautiful circle to look at once you start to be able to connect all of these dots. Some of the other codes that have come from Venus, from the Hathors themselves, or from their descendants on Venus who call themselves the Venusians, are the rose template. That is why Venus traces this beautiful geometric rose in its, I think it's its orbit. In its journey across the stars. What we get down here on Earth is this beautiful geometric rose pattern. You can look that up, Rose of Venus. So all of the rose codes, all the huge variety of roses that we have on this planet, which is quite a lot, also came from the Venusians, as well as the codes that created the eagle. And I find that a really fascinating one because normally all of the bird codes that we have here on this planet came from the blue avians or an avian species, but the Hathors actually worked with an avian species to create the eagle template, and it was given as a gift to humanity. So that code itself was actually not here on the planet during the time of Lemuria and Atlantis. It was brought here during the Reconstruction period before humans became the primary species on this planet. So Venus and the Hathors play a very big role in not only our life here, but as you're about to find out, in our ascension and in your journey as a master of energy. Since Venus never hosted a fully dense 3D karmic game on the planet or an astral realm, which is fourth dimension, it would have become this stopover planet for souls during their descent through the dimensions, which I've talked about before on the episode called Fallen Angels, and more recently on the Ascent episode, I think 171, very recently. So would have been this stopover planet that you went to during your descent down in the dimensions or during your ascent as you're ascending back up through the dimensions. And the reason for that is because the Hathors were already ascending when they arrived. It did at one point have types of first and second density life forms. Now, however, you cannot have first or second density life forms there. It is all very high frequency energy. And when that energy translates here on Earth, we interpret that high frequency energy to be that's a really, really hot planet that we probably can't go to. In fact, Venus is the hottest planet in our solar system. So we're not going to be landing there anytime soon, but you are going to come into very close contact with this planet and be in communication, probably traveling there in your astral body. If you haven't done so already, And it is quite a busy place now for the Mastery Schools, also called the Mystery Schools. So, what are the mystery schools of Venus? The mystery schools are higher dimensional learning experiences, primarily occupied by the group consciousnesses, beings, group consciousness beings, referred to as the Ascended Masters, or rather called by their teachers the Ascending Masters. And what are they masters of? They are learning how to become masters of energy, and those energies are sorted into sub-octave groups that are called rays, and those rays are considered rays of light. So every ray of light, we see the prism green, orange, yellow, red, purple, indigo, light blue, even pink, which is perceptible to our eyes. We see that prism, but when you are in the higher dimensions, you see each ray of light as being filled with information, being filled with energy that holds information about source consciousness, about us, and about our universe. So these are soul groups that are evolving out of their galactic duties, the ascending masters. They're evolving out of being on the councils. Maybe they were on a council for quite a while, and then their evolution through consciousness leads them to form cohorts that delve into the mysteries so that they can continue activating higher dimensional consciousness and calibrating their energy to the eternal, all-knowing of Source. And I think this part is really worth deeply understanding, that when someone is talking about an ascended master, they are never talking about a single soul the way you and I experience each other as these quite individualized forms of expression with personality and preferences and likes and dislikes. They're not talking about a single soul. They're not talking about a single drop of our soul, which is really what you and I are expressing inside of these lifetimes. The ascending masters, the ascended masters, Isis, Latwi, Quo, Ra, Osiris, Yeshua, the Magdalens, which many people call Mary Magdalene. I've actually shifted out of that and I call them, because they are a group consciousness, I call them the Magdalens. Same with Isis. I rarely ever refer to my own group as Isis anymore. I usually call us the Auset, which is the proper ancient Egyptian word for Isis. But we are the Auset. We are a group of beings. Same with Yeshua. I rarely ever refer to Jesus Christ. I usually refer to Yeshua if I want to talk about one of the incarnations they had here, or I call them Sananda, which is an entire group of beings who have a harmony that they have created between them. They have come together, usually across different galactic families, to create these cohorts and to then together create a level of harmony and resonance between them that they are able to vibrate at the same rate, take on the same expression, which would be Sananda. That is an expression in our universe. And together they enter the mystery schools and begin their mastery learnings and teachings, because we have experienced their teachings here on Earth, but they are also on Venus learning from their spiritual guides, from the forms of themselves that are even more ascended, that are even more conscious, and that are even closer to that pure expression of eternity known as Source. And the reason that I think it's so important to remember that these are groups creating a harmonious expression is because when you are in this dimension, it's very easy to see other beings as separate from you and to then begin placing them up on a pedestal or down below you. Maybe there's one that you don't like, so you kind of try to put it below you, or maybe there's one that you really like, so you put it above you. That's how we get these kind of hierarchy worship energies. And we really want to approach the ascending masters, which are versions of ourselves, the mystery schools, the mastery level consciousness teachings with balance. You cannot have something on a hierarchy and call it balanced because it is inherently imbalanced. One thing is considered greater or higher or above another thing. We want to approach this with perfect balance, putting everything on the same playing field as you. We are just expressing in a form of diversity at this single moment. So, why does this matter to us? Why does it matter to us what's happening on Venus at these mystery schools? And I haven't even told you what the mysteries are. Don't worry, I'm going to. Even though this topic seems so far away and so far out there, and it's literally happening on another planet, it could not be more relevant to you and what you are going through in Ascension right now. Let me tell you why. When we come to work on a planet in this solar system that is going through an ascension, we store our mastery codes on Venus. Our mastery codes are all of our higher dimensional awareness and understandings of the mysteries, which is a huge portion of our soul's wisdom. But we don't store them in the way that you think we store them. So, figures who have accessed and downloaded their mastery level codes while being here on this planet would be figures like Yeshua, Mary Magdalene, Buddha, and other spiritual teachers throughout our history that have astounded the general public with their wisdom and insight into the spiritual paradox. Literally, teachings that seem so profound, so wise, and yet our logical mind cannot make sense of it because inevitably we run into a paradox. I think some of the really famous ones that we only got, one half of the paradox is when Yeshua said, "I am the Son of God." And everyone was like, "Whoa, you're the Son of God? Like, wow, you must be really special." They didn't really catch the rest of his teachings, or at least they didn't write them down, where Yeshua would have said, "I am the Son of God, you are the Son of God, we are the Son of God, I am you, you are me, and we are one." Because that would have defied the logic that we are separate beings, that Yeshua is Yeshua, and that Annie is Annie Perry, and I'm not Annie Perry because she's over there doing that. It would have defied the logic. Another great one is, "I am the way and the truth and the life." And then for 2,000 more years, you have all these millions and maybe even a billion people on the planet trying to stuff themselves inside of the energy of Yeshua because Yeshua said Yeshua is Jesus is the way and the truth and the life. So we've got to stuff ourselves inside of that and ignore the teachings that you are the way, the truth, and the life. That person over there is the way and the truth and the life. All of us are the way and the truth and the life because all is one. I get this little bit of logical pushback every time I say, "I am God." Inevitably, someone out there gets triggered and is like, "Well, how dare you say that you are God? God is this infinite being of light and it has this infinite love for all of us and is looking out for all of us." Girl, I'm working in the astral realm day and night looking out for all of y'all. I mean, if you have seen some of my grid working, if you've listened to some of my grid working episodes, then you get that joke. But inevitably, you will run into these paradoxes and what makes them absurd. We'll talk about the definition of paradox. We'll talk about some of the Venusian mastery level paradoxes, because even just these ones that we're talking about are accessible in this dimension. And now we're at the point in energy where we're able to wrap our mind around I am you, you are me, and we are one, which would just be a very elementary paradox. So these different spiritual figures throughout history were able to access their mastery codes, download them, astound the general public with this wisdom, with this insight. Many of you are going to feel called to begin downloading your mastery codes from Venus. It is coming for you because we are stepping into an era, an ascended era on the planet, the beginnings of fourth density consciousness, where we now have the energetic and, dare I say, mental capacity to wrap our minds around some of these concepts. And where we are wiser, we are going to make better decisions as a collective and as we build the new earth. So, at the end, I'm going to give you a step-by-step process of how to start downloading your mastery codes from Venus. So, are the mastery schools the same thing as the mystery schools? The answer is yes, but the Venusians themselves highly prefer that they are called the mystery schools, so that we're keeping the focus on the mysteries themselves, which we'll go into in just a moment, the mysteries themselves, as opposed to the group of beings who are learning there, which are the ascending masters. On Venus, there are many planes of light, like a plane of existence, not an airplane, a plane of light, a plane of existence. The masters groups gather together in a certain plane of light. Another way to think of this visually for yourself, since we have just one plane of existence here, which is third dimension, whereas they have many that are available and visible to them, another way to think of it would be a sphere of light. If you want to imagine that all over the planet Venus, there are these giant glowing spheres of light, and inside of them are these students who are all gathered together and are the mastery students, that's totally fine. Energetically, you would experience it slightly differently, more as light and harmony and sound and intonation and vibration. But if you want to visualize it in this very third dimensional way, totally fine. Whatever gets you feeling connected to these planes of light or spheres of light. Now, the masters are there on Venus in their light bodies, meaning that they can move from the etheric realm to different planets like Venus, to high frequency extraterrestrial interdimensional ships, all through their intention. They can move effortlessly through these different planes of existence or locations in awareness. They can move through all of those effortlessly. Typically, extraterrestrials and those who are still on the galactic path will stay on their ships or be tied to a certain planet. As you start to go into your mastery phase in your journey of consciousness, you will start to move between etheric realm, in and out, through all of these different planes very easily, through thought, through intention, because you are more light and energy and you have much less density. And because of their lack of density, they can gather all of their energies as one being, or they can create distinctions and a group-like energy, similar to a soul group, right? There's harmony, there's resonance, there might be sound and intonation and vibration. This is how they are available to be in multiple places at once in our perception. Once the group has gathered in a plane of light, their guides will present a mystery for them to study. Now, our definition of mystery is something that is difficult or impossible to understand or explain. A religious definition of mystery is a belief based on divine revelation especially one regarded as beyond human understanding. A third definition of mysteries, one that I quite prefer, being very connected to the Greeks, is the secret rites in those spiritual beliefs that they had, or of any ancient or tribal religion belief to which only initiates are admitted. And I think the word initiates is a great way to think of the ascending masters. They're being initiated into the mysteries, into that level of consciousness, studying all of the universal paradoxes by their spiritual guides, which tend to be late fifth density, sixth density, and even seventh density. So if you think of Earth as a very challenging school where we come to learn, we are getting our bachelor's degree here. On Venus, we are getting our master's degree. But just imagine for a moment the level of wisdom that your spiritual guide who is teaching the ascending master version of you, imagine the level of wisdom that they hold. And that is also you. All of your spiritual guides are all future versions of yourself. Yes, you are a lot of beings in this universe and multiverse. Yes, you have many names and many faces. My personal favorite definition of the word mystery is that a mystery is a puzzle. And that is the perfect way to understand what the master's version of yourself on Venus is studying. They are studying the universe paradoxes. They are trying to understand a puzzle that is going to lead them to a paradox, but the paradox itself, both sides of it have to be, you can think of the infinity symbol, both sides of it have to be understood and integrated in order for you to balance the paradox. So the Venusian mysteries themselves are universal paradoxes, the paradox of source. The master, the ascending master themselves, or their group consciousness, will then contemplate, meditate, and have conversations with their guides to help them balance their understanding of that paradox with which they have been presented inside of this sphere of light or this plane of existence. Once the paradox is perfectly balanced inside of the beings, then they move on to a new school, which would be a new plane of existence on Venus, and another version of their guides will meet them there to present them with another paradox for them to study. So let's talk about the definition of paradox in our time-space English language. The definition of paradox is a statement or proposition that, despite sound, or apparently sound, reasoning from acceptable premises, leads to a conclusion that seems senseless, logically unacceptable, and self-contradictory. Like the example that I already gave, if I am me and you are you, how can I be you and you be me? That sounds contradictory. It sounds senseless. You're you and you're over there, and I'm me and I'm over here. But that's only one side of the infinity symbol. That's only one loop in the infinity symbol. If I keep following the energy, I will find that I am you and you are me and we are one. When I come to the resonance inside of myself that we are one, that energetic feeling of highest truth, the release of all belief in separation, now I am balancing the paradox inside of myself. Here are some more examples of introductory mysteries that the Venusians gave me for this lesson, and are ones that they said here on Earth we contemplate these all the time. So these are introductory level mysteries. How can the universe be all light and all darkness at the same time? That also goes back to the law of one. How can we experience human death, animals dying, plants rotting, endings, anguish, grief, separation in this dimension, but also be eternal beings who can never die. How can I die and never die? I'll give you a third one. How can I be timeless and eternal, but I experience time and I'm getting older? To a young soul, they might respond with, well, that's impossible, or it doesn't make sense. But to you and I, we understand that the answer is both and or illusion, right? How can I experience death, but I'm an eternal being that can never die? Well, because I'm an eternal being, I can create the illusion of death and experience both. How can the universe be all of the darkness that exists and all of the light that exists at the same time? The answer is that the universe is both and. It is both light and darkness at the same time. The paradox that I really love, especially as someone who's come out of religion, is the question that I think most people who are wary of religion, wary of going into religion, they always ask this question. If there is a God who is all powerful and all loving and loves us unconditionally, then why would that God let all of these bad things happen to people? Because that doesn't seem very all powerful or loving, does it? And I'll let you contemplate that one and see if you can come into a resonance of perfect balance with some of the clues that I dropped when answering the other paradoxes. Now, meditation and contemplation and conversation with your guides is not the only way for an ascending master to experience the perfect balance of the paradox. They can actually, and I say this in quotation marks, leave the mystery schools and go to a planet and have an experience that helps them understand and balance the paradox that they are studying. So now we get into a deeper level of why your spiritual guides want you to become more familiar with Venus and the mystery schools, because you likely left, and I say that in quotation marks, the mystery schools to come to Earth for this ascension project. Why would you do that? Because you were presented with a mystery that you needed to experience in order to understand. You are here, living this lifetime, learning the balanced answer to that mystery through an immersive experience. Wait a minute. Does that mean that we've just run into another paradox? How can you be here with your intention to come into this lifetime to help others with ascension, but you're also here and your intention is actually to help yourself? Which one is the truth? Well, if we have both sides of the infinity loop, we can connect them. We know that when you are on the path of service to others, when you serve others, help others, you actually help yourself. And that goes back to the first law, the law of one, all is one. When you help others, you are helping yourself because you are them and they are you and we are one. I just threw myself in there at the last moment. You are here to help yourself. And in the helping of yourself, you're going to help others. You are here to help others, and in the helping of others, you are going to help yourself. I'll take a moment to share the mystery that I was in contemplation and then decided to come into this experience to understand through this lifetime as Annie Perry. How can we be infinite wealth and prosperity but experience poverty, lack, and scarcity? So through this lifetime, I am experiencing the answer and balancing that paradox inside of my own energy. My soul mission is the mystery that I was in contemplation about. Let me say that again, just to let it sink in. My soul mission is the mystery that I was in contemplation about on Venus at the mystery schools. Now, we're going to jump into another beautiful paradox. I'm still there. You're still there. You're still on Venus studying the mysteries, and you're here experiencing the answer. You're there and you're here. Remember when I said that your mastery codes are being held on Venus, but not in the way that you think? That version of yourself on Venus, one of your mastery selves, is the version of you that's holding your mastery codes and is going to transmit them to you here on Earth. Those are codes of wisdom, higher dimensional understanding, balanced nature in mind, body, and soul, mission-oriented codes. And the codes are in the frequency of unconditional love. So, just to draw all of this together before I give you the steps to begin downloading your mastery codes from the mystery schools, I want to read the channeled post about the mystery schools that I put on Instagram just a couple of weeks ago. The title of it, if you go looking for it on my page, is The Venusian Mystery Schools. And it begins, "Welcome to Venus, a higher dimensional plane of existence supporting Earth's ascension. Venus is the home to the ascended mastery consciousness in our local solar system. To engage in ascended mastery, there are codexes downloaded across Venus from the higher Akashic Records. Each codex serves as part of the learnings in the Venusian Mystery Schools. Venus is the eldest daughter of our solar system and is delighted to support her sister Gaia in her ascension. Venus was seeded by the Hathors billions of our years ago, and the Hathors originated in the Theta Reticuli constellation. The mysteries are the infinite paradox of our universe and the vast wisdom accumulated through this universe and many others before it. Each group of ascending masters has a counter-galactic council that they serve with their knowledge from the mystery schools. An ascending master is asked by their higher self to sit in deep contemplation concerning each mystery that presents itself. Upon contemplation, they may achieve revelation concerning the mystery. This signals that the paradox is fully understood and the mastery code is activated within that being. Each school is comprised of a collection of paradox mysteries, revelations, and energies that the masters bring themselves. Therefore, the schools are always changing. Do we interact with the Venusian Mystery Schools here on Earth? Yes. The ascending mastery part of your consciousness is currently engaged in their mystery schools, and each divine revelation may be shared in relation to your own consciousness. When a soul is ready to receive these codex revelations, you may refer to them as a download or downloading your mastery codes. We share this system and process with you because many of you are now connecting to your ascending mastery self and being prepared for these codes. These codex mysteries that will be gifted to you over the next 20 years are the ones that the masters feel are necessary for the ascension of Earth's collective consciousness, i.e., your human population. They have selected what they feel are the missing pieces to the collective consciousness, awareness, and ability to ascend and achieve harmony. Earth is often referred to as a school as well, and we would say this is true. You may consider the idea that you are in college level courses on Earth, and the version of you that achieves master's level is sending you wisdom and knowledge across the barrier of time to help you. Are you creating your future or are you remembering it? This is a mystery paradox that we shall leave you to ruminate and activate within yourselves. And that message was sent by Ra. So now you have even more pieces of the puzzle. You know that over the next 20 years, you're going to be downloading these codes from your ascending masters' selves on Venus. You know that every time you integrate and balance a paradox, your ascended mastery self moves to a new school and brings a new energy. So the schools are always changing because the energy of the beings is so strong in how it interacts with the mystery that is presented to them. So you are both here, changing Earth and having an impact here and helping others that helps yourself here on Earth in this lifetime, and you're there on Venus having an impact, changing the mystery schools, learning and balancing, and assisting yourself and others in the universe all at one time. And that's only a couple versions of you. There are infinite more. All right, here is the step-by-step process to begin downloading your mastery codes from the Venusian Mystery Schools. Step number 1, connecting with your ascended master self. Which ascended masters do you feel connected to? I posted an entire list on my Instagram page, and the post is titled How to Connect with the Ascended Masters, plus an introductory list of Ascended Masters. It's very hard to miss, and I'm pretty sure that it is pinned at the top of my page as well. If you do not have social media and you do not want to look at that list that I posted, you can also go to ascensionwiththeascendedmasters.com, I believe is the website. It is this incredibly helpful website that has a list of not just ascended masters, but also like Elohim, archangels, many different forms of consciousness. And if you click on the names there, it will give you a page that has more information about those beings based on what those channels have uncovered. I believe that those channels are based in New Zealand. I don't know them personally, but when I started working with the Ascended Masters, I was given that website, and it has been so helpful to me to learn new names and to understand them deeper. So you need to learn some names. You need to get familiar with different names for different Ascended Masters with different symbols, because once you know, you are going to start seeing those signs and symbols everywhere, and you're going to start feeling connected with certain versions of yourself that are the Ascended Masters. Step number 2, you need to connect with the planet Venus. There is a higher dimensional gateway for you to access, which means that you need to be in a high frequency state of love and oneness with all that is in order to approach and be admitted to Venus. If you are struggling with getting into that high frequency, I highly recommend utilizing roses. We can get roses nearly any time of year all over the planet, and just as few as three would help to raise the vibration of your auric field. So you can set them next to you while you go into meditation. They actually have the frequency of Venus encoded into them. That's why we are obsessed with roses, meaning love and oneness and the good vibes, the good feelings. So you can get some roses. They have the frequency of Venus. Set them next to you in meditation. They will start to fill your aura with that frequency. So there's no need to worry that you're not high vibe enough or something. You are perfectly, perfectly capable. Everyone is. And then you can start to connect in with Venus. Once you have these two connection points, now you are at step 3. So 2 connection points connected with some Ascended Masters, connected with Venus. Now you're ready to start downloading your mastery codes. You'll go into meditation, call on your Ascended Master self, and ask them to please transmit and download the mastery codes that you are ready to receive and integrate right now. That's going to change wildly over the course of your lifetime, over the course of a year, over the course of the next 20 years. You're asking for wisdom, and trust me, when you ask for wisdom, they are going to deliver. They are going to deliver beyond your wildest dreams. The last step is really, I just recommend that when you're in this meditation and you feel some topics start to come into your mind, have a journal nearby and start to write them down. You might not understand the paradox that you're being presented with yet, but they will make it clear to you. And this could unfold in an hour, in a week, in a day, in a month, in a year. It will unfold at the rate that your consciousness is in acceptance of it. And there's no rush, because one of the other paradoxes is that time isn't real. We experience time and we do have a death date, but time isn't actually real and you're never going to die. You're going to live forever. So have fun with the paradoxes. Something that you will learn, as I have learned, is to just gently brush your mind to the side and allow yourself to feel. Allow yourself to feel the truth. For me personally, I download codes about once per month. Some things take me longer to integrate, but this is extremely helpful for balancing your energy as our ascension continues to accelerate. The faster you're going on a trajectory, you don't want to be wobbly. It's the wobbles that start to freak you out. You want to be balanced. You want to be solid as you are starting to accelerate. And it is just the same with ascension. The energy is going to continue to accelerate. We want to be balanced. We want to be very solid as we are accelerating at a quantum level of speed, continuing our journey of consciousness. So, if you are ready to learn more about mastery level topics, make sure that you take the time to check out Ascension Academy. You can find the link in the show notes, or you can go to wellspringofficial.com, which is my website, and find the link, and all of the information about it and how to join is right there. If you enjoyed this episode, again, please leave a rating and a review or share it with a friend. It really means the world to me, and it's the best way to show your gratitude if I gave you something of value today. Thank you all so much for listening. I am really looking forward to all of the upcoming episodes that we have. I promise you that what I show up to the table with next is really going to blow you away. But until then, beautiful beings of divine light, you already know that I will see you on the next one.